Welcome to Pulp Mortem, the search for a lost literary classic from the Pulp era. When I read these pulps, I always have a pen and a notepad next to me. I'll jot down notes, things I like, comments, the good, the bad, the fun, things like that. I finished reading Seahorse in the Sky, closed the book, looked down at my notepad, and realized I didn't write a thing. But before we break this down, let's talk about my buddy Ed. Edmund Cooper was an English-born author, born April 30th, 1926. He quit school at 15 and joined the Merchant Navy. Harrowing experiences in World War II made him leave the sea and went back to school at Didsbury Training College, where he studied art to be a teacher. Around this time, he began to write. Many of his short stories were accepted by the pulp magazines, and his first published novel was Fairy Rocket under the pseudonym George Kinley. Cooper also took the pen names Broderick Quain, Martin Lester, and Richard Avery. Cooper said of himself that he was a lover of poetry, chess, and wine, and he passed away in 1982 due to chronic alcoholism, but not before writing over 20 novels and 40 short stories. Which brings us to Seahorse in the Sky. Kidnapped! 8 men and 8 women, with curious bumps on the back of their heads and no memory of anything but an interrupted journey, a flight that never landed. They emerged from their green plastic coffins one by one into the sunlight of an endless alien plain. Standing alone on either side of a short road that ended abruptly in grass and shrubs were a supermarket and a hotel, and nothing else. Fortunately, the hotel had a limitless bar. They were going to need it because although no one had ever saw who stocked the groceries or changed the sheets, they did see other things. Shocking things, frightening things, unbelievable things. Some would die of it, some would go mad, and some would find the truth. Seahorse in the Sky is an original story published in 1969 by Hodder and Stoughton. The Ace paperback that I own was printed in 1978 for $1.75. It is 217 pages with a cover by David Bergen. Personally, I love the cover. It is so unique and eye-catching. This Ace version you can find between $5 or $7 online. The G.P. Putnam's 1970 hardcover edition is really cool, and it only goes online for like $10. The original hardcover, the first printing, however, I can't find online at all. I found this book in my ridiculous and embarrassingly impulsive Mega Haul video, and what stuck out to me about this book in particular was while I was reviewing it, or showcasing it, my wife came into the kitchen and spoiled the shot.
Making noise.
This is the live... it's not... You can't just yell. You could have just snuck in and got something to eat. I do this in one take. Ugh. Now everything's ruined. Seahorse in the Sky by Edmund Cooper. This was the last. The cover's really cool. It's purple. It's great. There's a cool space guy with space bugs or space fairies and a giant plane. Now, I didn't edit it out. I left it in there because I thought it was kind of funny. But after filming, I realized that I didn't really look at this book or get a chance to talk about it. The back synopsis and the front cover were so intriguing that it jumped the queue. And I don't know if I've showed you guys the queue yet, but it's right down here. It's here. And it's just a giant stack of books. What's good about it, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. This book is engrossing. I was fully immersed. I'm trying to go about my day doing my daily tasks, and I found myself sneaking away to read a chapter or two all throughout the day.
All I require is to sit in the sun, read my book, alone.
Things ended up getting behind. The dog's bath got pushed off. The laundry kind of didn't get done when it needed to, and I didn't care. Sticking power. I can't stop thinking about this book. Now, out of all the pulp novels I've reviewed so far, I don't think I would reread any of them, with the exception of The Furies and probably West of the Sun. I will definitely reread this. As a writer, I'm constantly looking for sources of inspiration. I don't look for concepts or ideas or things to emulate, but rather I look for stories that spark creativity inside of me.
Thank you.
I look for books that make my mind expand and introduce brand new ideas. I like stories that draw my eyes upward, that show me that there's something unexplored and leave my imagination to populate what it could be. What lurks in this cave? What swims in this deep? What resides at the other end of this void? Things like that. Seahorse in the Sky has introduced a multitude of wonder, and now there are trails for my mind to explore. Competency. Cooper is good. He's a solid, engaging writer. Most of the prose is standard, and as I said, competent. However, near the end, there were some really fantastic lines. He also understands suspense and tension really well. As I neared the end of each chapter, most of the time I was quickly flipping the page just to discover what happened next. He teases the reader like that sometimes, which I actually like. Yeah, for instance, there's one part where one guy is planning he wants to figure out who is stalking the sheets, who is working behind the scenes, so he secretly decides to stay up all night. And then the chapter ends with the main protagonist saying, and that was the last time we saw him alive. And I'm like, what? What's next? I personally love this teasing style when it's used in restraint. I mean, there are some authors out there who will literally spoil the ending of their book for no reason, but Cooper used just the right amount. I would have bet real money that the cover didn't match the story, but I would have lost. It does. And now, the bad. Characterization, or lack thereof. The main protagonist and viewpoint character Russell feels authentic, genuine. He feels real, as does the warrior chief Abzu and the Russian communist romantic love interest Anna. Other than that, the supporting cast could be made of cardboard, and they are all 100% interchangeable with one another. The story actually reminds me of Lost a little bit. A group of unique and interesting people suddenly trapped in a surreal environment where they have to band together to survive and seek out what's going on. The difference here, other than the author of this book had a clue what he was doing and wasn't a secret idiot, is that the ensemble is dull. Now, I kind of hesitate to put this in the bad section because it really is just kind of a nitpick. But to me, the bar was set so high with the story and with the mystery that this weaker element kind of really stood out. Fleshing out the supporting cast really wasn't necessary, but I mean, it would have elevated this already great story even further with just a minimal amount of characterization. Misogyny. A common critique leveled against Edmund Cooper was that he was a misogynist. Now, I've read the interviews and his responses in entirety, which that's important to do, and maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I don't care. Not that I approve of misogyny, but I didn't know Edmund Cooper, and I'm not here to judge Edmund Cooper. I'm here to judge his book. That being said, our hero did end up slapping a hysterical woman at one point, in which she thanked him, just, thanks, I needed that. Because that's what you do with hysterical women, I guess. Now, for the 2.2% of you gals watching out there, I feel like it needs to be said that I'm not a fan of slapping women. If fictional women getting slapped bothers you, just beware that's in here. If ladies getting slapped doesn't bother you, then, well, you might be Sean Connery.
As I remember, you said you don't do it with a clenched fist, it's better to do it with an open hand. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I didn't love that.
I haven't changed my opinion.
You haven't?
No, not at all.
You think it's good to slap a woman?
No, I don't think it's good. I
think it's bad?
I don't think it's that bad. I think that it depends entirely on the circumstances and if it merits it. Yeah.
What would merit it?
Well, if you have tried everything else, and women are pretty good at this, they can't leave it alone. They want to have the last word, and you give them the last word, but they're not happy with the last word. They want to say it again and get into a really provocative situation. Then I think it's absolutely right.
2.2% though? Come on, ladies. Don't you like science fiction? Actually, that probably checks out. I don't even think my wife is subscribed. There are some plot holes, but I can't really discuss them without spoiling some major plot elements of the story, and that I'm not really willing to do with this book. The holes weren't really big enough to damage the story, but they were big enough for me to notice. In all honesty, I'm kind of grasping for bad things to talk about. Fun! This is usually where I talk about silly things. Dated terminology, some convoluted story ideas, goofy aliens, weird creatures, things like that. This book doesn't feel dated to me. In fact, it kind of has a timeless prose. Sure, it's a million light years from hard sci-fi, and some of the ideas here are a stretch, but there was nothing that really made me laugh. With the exception of the description of some certain characters at the end of the book. That's all I'm going to say about it, but if you've read this, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And fun. In the truest sense of the word, this book is fun. I enjoyed every single page. So what's the verdict? Museum. This book is excellent in every way. Edmund Cooper wove a mysterious, intriguing, and ultimately inspiring tale that kept me utterly engrossed from start to finish.
That belongs in a museum!
What's more, I'm several days removed from finishing this, and I can't stop thinking about it. It's not life-changing, it's not without its flaws, but it's better than the majority of what's being written today. Let me read you guys an excerpt from Ansible issue 161 back in December. It's kind of an online sci-fi forum type deal. Terry Pratchett had a sobering moment while on his latest tour. I was signing in Weston-super-Mare when a lady in the queue, after proffering a book, said with a sigh, "My father was a sci-fi writer, but no one's ever heard of him." I cautiously ventured, "Who was he?" She said, "Edmund Cooper." From what I see online, neither Edmund Cooper nor this book has gotten the recognition they deserve, and that's what this channel is all about. Do yourself a favor and read Seahorse in the Sky. I'm going to try and track down an original hardcover, so wish me luck. We got one! But I'm aware that the pendulum of Pulp is cruel, and that our next review might be something on the level of the 4-Day Weekend. Or worse. Whatever, I'm encouraged by today. And that's my review of Seahorse in the Sky. Have you read this book? Is there another obscure classic out there just buried in the pulp? Is there an incredible story that you love but you feel like it never got the recognition it deserved? As always, let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time with Terror on Planet Ionis.